Net will begin in approximately 10 minutes. KC9UDX net control here. Yeah, go ahead and call. I don't know how delayed I am here. Pretty delayed. Hello, Joe. Stand by. Good evening. This is KC9UDX. My name is Matt, and I welcome you to the 2 a.m. net. The purpose of this net is to promote the use of amplitude modulation, and also to establish this part of this band as a place for AM activity in this area. Everyone is invited to listen. Licensed amateurs who can do so legally are encouraged to check in. We listen in the AM mode and transmit in the AM mode where possible. If you cannot transmit in AM, we encourage you to listen in AM and transmit in FM. If you are transmitting in FM, please adjust your transmit frequency a couple kcs above or below from our received frequency. This facilitates the use of slope detection, that is, demodulating your FM signal with our AM receivers. When checking in, please announce your call sign in standard phonetics. Again, this is KC9UDX. My name is Matt, and I will now begin accepting check-ins. Any station wishing to check in, please come now.
Good evening, Matt. K9FI, Jerry. And Whiskey Bravo 9, Bravo Whiskey Papa.
Alright, we got two right off the bat. Jerry K9FI, welcome to the net, and Dave WB9BWP, also welcome to the net. Do we have any more, please?
Kilo Bravo 9, Romeo Zuma.
I got Scott KB9RZO and another station at the same time. Could the other station come now, please? Alright, got AB9DW Dale. Scott and Dale, welcome to the net. Anybody else, please? Alright, I'm going to take a pause here and call November 9 Whiskey Quebec. November 9 Whiskey Quebec. Dave, can you hear me on the air? I don't know for sure, but we'll see here. N9WQ from KC9UDX. Alright, I'm not hearing Dave, so if anybody else does, please let me know when it comes around to you. We also have Joe, YouTuber Bratwurst, on the phone. And I guess it's February, and I got a few things to talk about, but otherwise, for me, it's pretty much balls to the walls at work like always. So, and I hate to keep saying this every month, but you know the drill. I'm only half awake here, so I apologize if I'm a little incoherent. I guess I'll bring up a couple of things first. A good friend of mine passed away last week. He was a kind of a central figure around here. He ran a hot rod shop, or a speed shop, I guess you call it, in New Berlin. And he's been in pretty bad health for a very long time. So, you know, I hate to say it, but it's probably for the best for him. But Obviously, it's going to be a little different around here without him. And the other thing, if you've seen my other YouTube channel, KC9UDX Driving, or if you've seen my library channel, KC9UDX of Library, you've seen the video where I broke my Jeep. I had my trailer parked out in the yard, and of course we got all that snow, and I needed to use the trailer, so I used my wife's car to pull the trailer out of the snow, but I could not put it back. Her car kept sliding down the hill sideways, and I couldn't put the trailer where I wanted it, and the trailer was starting to drift into the neighbor's yard. So I got out the Jeep and hit something in the backyard. I'm not sure what. And I guess what's the way to say that? I sent it. I didn't hold back. I put the pedal to the metal, and I kind of figured something would break. And I don't feel too bad about that, because I'd much rather break something in the backyard than 100 miles or 500 miles from home on an off-road course or something. So if you check out those videos, you'll get to see me break my axle and still somehow get out of the snow with a broken axle. And with that, I'm going to make one more call here for new check-ins before I go to the top of the list. Anybody else wishing to check in, come now, please. All right, hearing none, we'll go to K9FI. Jerry, the net is yours from KC9UDX.
Everybody's coming with equal signal strength, including you, Matt, and Dave. Sounds good. Excuse me. Dave's a little bit on the inside, but I'm glad he joined us. And I'm sorry that you broke your Jeep, but it's only an axle. The rear axle is no big deal. Just get another one, slide it in, slide it out, change the bearing, and all that good stuff, and the steel. You'll get over it, and next time you'll think about where you're trying to drive. I've done things like that, and then got a little annoyed and overdid it, let's put it that way, and paid for it later. Anyhow, man, as far as what's going around here, not a whole lot. My wife got on the contest thing last weekend, worked a couple of things. I didn't get on because we having fun. It was pizza day today, so we went and ordered our pizza from Papa Brookie, or ate some of that, watched a bird on Channel 10, and had a nice time, and then, of course, during that I probably fell asleep. But other than that, Matt, my brain was still hunkered down and staying safe and wearing a mask and all that good stuff. And otherwise, not much going on, other than operating on the radio and trying to the board's rules and practice. So back to you, Matt. K9FI.
All right, thank you, Jerry. And fine business on all that. I will not be rebuilding this axle. I have done it. I think I've done a complete overhaul on this one once, and I think I replaced a couple of bearings and the pinion yoke prior to that. Oh, probably the first time in 2003, maybe the second time in 2005 or 2007, maybe. I'm not even sure anymore. Anyway, the whole idea and why I don't feel bad about breaking that axle and why I didn't feel bad about trying to break it is that that axle is, well, it's fine for the stock application. It's an AMC 15 or a Dana 35, I guess. And it's totally inappropriate for my Jeep the way it's built right now. I'm going to pause here for a second. I'm getting chat messages on YouTube, and I cannot reply. I don't have a keyboard on the monitor that I can see here. So I'm going to tell Dave N9WQ that you do have the right frequency, 145.7. And I'm only running about 7 watts here. I forget what the ERP is. I have it written down here. I think I've got 6.376 decibels of antenna system gain. But of course, the terrain around here and the distance is going to make this a little bit difficult. And Dale, yeah, I see your message too. Well, this is one of the reasons why we do the YouTube thing, so you guys can hear me. You know, I keep saying it, someday I'll have a directional antenna that I can have a little more gain and maybe detune this radio so I can run the amplifier again. Unfortunately, until then, this is what we have to do. And with that, we'll go next to Dave, WB9BWP from KC9UDX.
Okay. Good evening, everyone that's out there. I'm at like 25 watts maybe coming out of the radio, so I'm not sure what the antenna gauge is. It's one of the giant sticks from the Cushcraft that they only sold for a couple of years. Got it in the early 90s somewhere. Original Cushcraft before MFJ bought them. It's been rebuilt a couple of times. And I'm surprised it was still working, but when everything had to come down for the landscape work earlier in 19, that was the first thing that went back up. It went up a little higher. That's how I may have a little better signal for the last year or so. But anyway, before I put it back up, I went over it. I took it apart completely, and the clamps that were holding the sections together fell apart, but I fixed that up with my own stuff, and amazingly enough, it still works. I can hear everybody. Jerry is lower in the weeds than he was last month, but I can make out maybe every other word or so, so that's good. Sorry about your friend Matt, and also about your Jeep. I remember the first car I ever got, 1973. It was like late March, early April. I only had it for a couple of weeks, and then there was that April snowstorm of, I forget just how much it was. It was on a weekday. It must have been about a foot of snow or something like that. Where I was living, I had parked on the street. I made it through the snow all day long. I was going to school still at the time, and I actually drove a friend home, I think, and I got home. I had to kind of blast the car into a parking space, and I think I blasted a little too hard. And when I went up the next day to move the car, started up in gear, wouldn't go anywhere. It was an automatic, and I tore the torque converter off the transmission in the course of blasting it into the very packed down snow on the street. So my car was like 2 weeks old or something at the time. It had close to 100,000 miles on it by the time I got it, but for me it was only a couple of weeks anyway. Okay, back with the sliding foot. Anyway, over here, almost have everything put back together from my excursion of tearing the room apart, and I'm working on the audio rack of the output stuff for all the radios here, and I'm doing that still. I do that during this, in between everything. I turn around and put stuff in, take stuff out, wire it up, whatever it takes. It takes me multiple tries. I put it together and it's like, no, I don't like that. Let's try it this way. Anyhow, that's more than enough for round one, so I'll send it back to Ned. This is WB9BWP.
All right, thank you, Dave. And I'll tell you what, excuse me. Every time I have to pull a slush box or an automatic transmission out of a vehicle, I'm always amazed. And I wonder what people would think if they saw how wimpy those torque converter plates are. You know, the torque converter is hooked up to the engine by a piece of, I'd be surprised if it's 18 gauge sheet metal and 4 little 3/8 screws. That's all that there is to drive all of the engine power to the wheels. And obviously it works. It's well engineered. It just it doesn't look like something you'd expect to work. And obviously, if you get a little too hard on it, that's what's going to happen. And with that, next we'll go to Scott, KV9RZO from KC9UDX.
Okay, real fine. Good evening to the net here. I got to turn down my other side of the radio here. Don't have a whole lot to add. I did get stuck in the snow last weekend. I think it was last weekend. I had about a 2.5 foot drift across my driveway, and it's downhill, but I thought maybe I could make it, but it was so dense and heavy that as soon as I got into it, it just packed underneath it. Basically, my wheels were off the ground. So I had to do a bit of shoveling, and then I could back up. And now I'm driving a minivan, so it's not the best situation. But I was out there about a half hour, 45 minutes shoveling, and I got back up the hill and got her in my spot. Actually got plowed out, and it turned out pretty good. But I did not bang on the transmission to try to get out of there, but I gave it a workout anyway. Luckily, I got those new tires just before Christmas, and I am very, very, very happy with them. They're Michelin, they're called Michelin Defenders. They're just an outstanding tire. I am pleased in every way about them. So that really helped. I think I could have, if I had a little more speed, I might have got right on top of the snow and went all the way down. But as luck would have it, I wasn't going anywhere for a while. But that was a heck of a pickup, and it was some pretty heavy snow. Anyways, thought I'd hop in here and say good evening. Not very often I remember about the network. Actually, WQ9A told me about it, and I'm surprised they haven't heard him. But I thought, well, let's wire it up on AM and give it a whirl. But that's about all I have. We'll turn it back to that control. KV9RZO.
All right, thank you, Scott. Sorry to hear that you got stuck and had to shovel, but it could be a lot worse. You could be stuck and have to call for help. I don't know that I've ever... I think I have been in that situation exactly twice. With the same car, I had a little Chrysler front-wheel drive car with a turbocharger, and that thing was pretty impossible in the snow. And both times I called for a tow truck. First time I had AAA, and I called AAA, and they told me that because of the snowstorm, it would take them about 3 days to get out to my location, which I thought was totally ridiculous. And the second time, I was on the phone. This is in the early days of cell phones, I guess. I had one back when I would say most people didn't. I was talking to the towing company on the phone as I was rocking the car back and forth, and I managed to get it back up on the road. But I'll tell you a funny story that happened to me about, must be 15 years ago now. It was at a place I worked in Brookfield. I drove my Jeep to work back then, and they had a pile of snow behind the building, probably 8 feet tall, and I drove up the pile of snow and parked there in the morning. And unfortunately, when I came out in the late afternoon, part of that snow had melted, and part of it did not. Part of it turned to ice. So now my Jeep was stuck up in the air, sitting on the left front wheel and the right rear wheel. And the right front wheel and left rear wheel were nowhere near the ground, about a foot off the ground each. And of course I have open differentials. That's intentional. A lot of people say, well, why don't you have lockers? You should have lockers in the Jeep, and I disagree with that. Open differentials are very important for exactly the kind of situation I had last week pulling the trailer out of the snow. You don't slide sideways when you have open differentials on hills and things. Anyway, so there I am, high-centered on a large snowbank, and it took me about an hour to get down. I don't recall exactly what I did. I think I must have gone and got a fork truck and lifted up the rear wheel that was off the ground just so I could get the other wheel to spin. I'm not sure. It's been a long time. Anyway, let's go to Dale, AB9DW, and I guess we'll wait here just a little bit in case you're only hearing me on YouTube, which I think you are. AB9DW from KC9UDX. All right, thank you, Dale. I can copy you very well. Your signal is down, I think. I don't have anything handy where I know what your signal normally is, but you're coming in at a 3 out of 10. Signal is very low, but your audio is overpowering the noise, so I can copy you very well. I don't know how well that's coming in over YouTube, though. Of course, you can hear me just fine on YouTube. Hopefully. I know that this microphone isn't ideal, and the computer that it's connected to is very stubborn, and that can be very quiet. So, excuse me, I have to get right up to the microphone like this and yell, which I should do all the time, and I don't. But you mentioned the tires, Scott did too, and I wanted to say this before and I forgot. It is very important to have good tires in the winter, and I think most people have forgotten that. It's a night and day difference between having proper tires and having run-of-the-mill fuel-efficient tires on a car in the winter. And I really wish that the majority of the people out there knew this and they would get decent tires, and then maybe we wouldn't have to have so much salt on the roads. And with that, we'll go to Joe. Sorry to keep you waiting so long here, Joe. Go ahead and take a turn.
Alright, thanks. So wait, was probably a problem at all. But I guess I'll start off by saying, sorry to hear about the passing of your friend and the problem that you've been having with your Jeep. That part will be quite annoying. I guess since the last time I've checked into the net, I've gotten into TV a little bit because I got a TV radio for my parents for Christmas, and it tends to cruise around on guess next I'll go on to say that I found a local ham radio for me, and it's the Barron County Amateur Radio Association. I found their net by scanning around on a radio that carries, I guess, on frequency. And it was fun to listen. I just kind of go through the conversation because I can't talk, so I don't have a license. Unfortunately, in late November, their next spokesperson, I believe it was Joe Casper, passed away from an ATV accident. KD9 DFT was all he heard from. And I finally did get a rooftop antenna for television, and it worked out really nicely. It's actually from, I believe, the 1950s or 60s. I pulled it out of a farm dump, the same one that I made a YouTube video on. And the spokes were pretty broken. It's a 3-element Yagi antenna. So I took the old element off, and I got some pieces of rod at Menards, and I did the calculations for the rod length, and it picked up 12 channels in one direction, which is very good for here. Typically can't get anything without a fancy antenna this size to adjust that. I perform better outside. And I guess I'll finish off by saying that it was neat to hear the name Chris Craft come up, because I am the direct descendant of Christopher Columbus Smith, the founder of Chris Craft. So yeah, that's kind of funny. So with that, I guess I'll turn that back to you.
All right, thank you, Joe. And your audio is a little bit quiet this month. I'm not sure if that's my phone. This phone is kind of flaky, but I think it'll work okay anyway. It's not a problem. But very fine business on that TV antenna. That's very nice work, calculating the element lengths and repairing it like that. And I would say, if at all possible, get that antenna outside and up in the air. I know that's not always possible, but you will be utterly amazed at the difference. That always helps, especially now with digital TV. Digital TV is very susceptible to cross-path interference and reflections, and the more out in the clear you can get your antenna, the better off you are with that. Very much more than it was in the old days with analog TV. Speaking of which, I think the deadline for analog TV transmissions getting off the air is finally approaching, unfortunately. Sorry to hear about KD9 DFC. That's not good, getting into a ATV accident like that. Not sure what else to say other than that. You know, I'm sure he probably wasn't doing the wrong thing, but you see a lot of people not taking safety very seriously on those things. And also fine business on the club, Barron County Amateur Radio Association. I'd say if it weren't for COVID, I would say see if you can sign up with the club and join club meetings. Maybe you can do that anyway, although they're probably not meeting in person anymore. I think that would be a really good thing to do if you can. And for CB, I think CB gets a worse reputation than what it really is. I think it used to be really bad. And in all honesty, I think today that there's a lot of amateur radio stuff that's as bad as what CB used to be. And I was pretty surprised. It must have been at least 5 years ago. I hooked up a CB in my vehicle with a very poor antenna just to see what I could hear. And the only things I heard were pleasant conversations between polite people who seem to be using the radio the correct way. Not what I had recalled from years past at all. And with that, we're at the bottom of the list. Do we have any more check-ins for the 2 a.m. net? Come now, please. Hearing none, we'll go back to the top of the list. K9FI Jerry from KC9UDX.
Okay, Matt. This is K9FI. And everybody's coming in with good signal, even though Dave can't hear me. He's got about the best signal I've heard from him. Dale is the only light one. And your friend Joe, who's on the telephone, sounded fine. And of course, I'm standing here about everybody that got hurt and died. What can I say? It's an ongoing thing around here. Just like I learned about a good friend of mine, my sister-in-law's nephew just came down with cancer, and he's in the hospital getting the chemo and everything else, and he's only 40 years old, so it never stops, guys. You might as well get used to it. Not that it's a joke. I hate to say the fact of life. And as you get older, you kind of get used to it. Not always, but you kind of do. Because it's the way it is. And anybody that is ill, you hope to give them the best wisdom, the best luck. I know my doctor told me when I had my son that we put our money down and we hope for good luck here. That's what my doctor told me. So, and I got lucky. So anyhow, I'm sorry to hear about it. And one thing that Dave does, you can hear me, I was looking for a coil today, a loading coil, because I want to play around with it. You guys can laugh at what I want to do. I want to make a lot of 30-foot verticals because I have different antenna elements and make it for a vertical antenna, and I want to put a loading coil on it that I can tap. And when I was going through my treasures, I came across something that I thought I had, but I couldn't find it, if you know what I mean. It was called a Dyna Q, and it was sold by W9SNK. I wonder if Dave remembers that fella. But anyhow, that's too bad. Maybe if you've ever done that, let me know how it worked out for you. K9FI.
All right, thank you, Jerry. Fine business on the antenna idea there. And I certainly can appreciate looking for something and finding something else you didn't know you were missing for a long time. That happens to me quite often, I guess. And I don't have any experience with that type of antenna. See if anybody else does. One other thing I'll say here, I should have said earlier. Jerry, you're coming in at a 5. Your signal is down from last month. I think you're normally... Oh, where do I have it here? Normally you're a 6 1/4. Dave, your signal is up. You're a 7, where last month you were also 6 1/4. Scott, your signal is up. You're 5 1/2 from 5. And Dale, I don't have a signal report from you last month, so I can't say other than that I think your signal is considerably down from what it was in the last time you were here, but I can't be certain about that. Next we'll go to Dave, WB9BWP from KC9UDX.
All right. And for Jerry there, yeah, I remember Charlie. I was just talking to somebody the other day about him, and someday maybe that'll be in the version of the cult history that comes out after I'm gone. It will be my tell-all of a lot of the behind-the-scenes club stuff, and the memories of Charlie are not always favorable, let's put it that way. He didn't do as much good as people might think, or he did a lot of bad that a lot of the rest of us had to work at to try to make up for. Anyway, and yeah, also for Jerry, if you want to spend money, you can do that same kind of thing. You get one of the Wolf-River coils, which are adjustable. Or see what they do for their adjustment mechanism. If we were having Amfest, you could probably see them at Amfest, but who knows when that's going to come. I had won last year at the virtual contest university stuff that normally takes place during Dayton. I actually won 2 tickets to this year's convention, but they canceled this year, so we'll see if they still give me free tickets next year. Anyway, yeah, I don't have anything spectacular over here because radio-wise, it's just been trying to get everything back together again, and just to show how my projects do go along. We had a kitchen redone in 2019, and I saved all the cabinets, of course, because it's like, well, can't get rid of that stuff. I can use that. And I am finally now getting cabinets mounted on the basement walls here. It's only been about a year and a half. That's pretty good for me. Anyway, I think with that, we'll just not babble too much, and I'll send it back to Ned. And like I said, I was hearing everybody. Jerry was down a little bit. I actually had to quick jump on YouTube for his second round here. His second round was even a little lower than the first round. But Scott and Dale's just a couple miles east of me, so I can hear him no matter what he does, probably. And Matt, you're probably a hair stronger maybe than last. Okay, there you go again with the foot switch. You're probably about a hair stronger this month than last month, according to what I've got written down here. So anyway, I'll send it back to Ned. This is WB9BWB.
All right, thank you, Dave. And I think that's the most interesting thing that I've learned since we've been doing this net. I couldn't even tell you how long it's been now, maybe 8 years. I don't even know. But from month to month, our conditions are considerably different. And not only is it, everybody's signal is down or everybody's signal is up, and some people are up and some people are down. It's funny how that works. It's something you don't normally notice on FM. And, what else was I going to say? Oh, I was going to say that if you got cabinets put up within a year, you're doing an awful lot better than I am. It takes me closer to 10 years to do something like that. Of course, hopefully it doesn't happen, but if we go into lockdown like we did last year, I get all kinds of things done. All kinds of things I never even thought I'd get done. And with that, next we'll go to Scott, KB9RZO from KC9UDX.
Okie doke. KB9RZO. Yeah. It's kind of a kick to 1 a.m. It's kind of fun. But one of these days, if I remember to bring my Variac home from work, I've got a constant communicator, I forget what it is, 1 or 2, I think it is. A complete unit with, I don't have a mic wired up for yet, but I can come up with something. And this guy got the VFO, the external VFO, so it worked the last time I fired it up, which may be 10 years ago. But I think it'd be real good to bring it up real nice and slow on Variac and let the caps get used to it again before they decide to blow up. But yeah, maybe that's something I'll work on in the next few weeks here, hopefully, if I remember. But anyways, gentlemen, I got to get flying out of here and get ready for tomorrow. So, everybody have a great evening. It's good hearing everybody. I think there was one person I didn't hear, maybe. Neil is way down in there. I can hear him, but I had to really listen close. Everybody else is pretty solid in here, at least to me. But I'll say 7-3s, and we'll catch you next time. KB9RZO. Back to you, man.
All right, thank you, Scott. And fine business on the Gonset. Now, I would recommend plugging it in and firing it up. I'm pretty sure it would work. I know how these Gonsets are built, and that's why I like them. Plus the fact that, well, maybe you have as much or more experience than I do in this, but I've been firing up old radio equipment for, many decades here now. And I got to tell you, without question, in my experience, this is against everybody else's experience, but in my experience, old capacitors fare better if you just fire up an old tube radio than if you bring it up slowly on a variac. Every single time I've ever brought one up slowly on a variac, the capacitors let the smoke out. And almost every time I didn't do that, the capacitors reformed and just worked. There's a lot of snap, crackle, pop when you first fire it up, but I don't know how they do it, but they always seem to come back to life. I don't know why that is, if I'm doing something different than everybody else, or what the story is. But that's what happens for me. And I've had a communicator 1, 2, 3, and 4, and that's my biggest regret of the things I've bought and sold in amateur radio, is I sold the 1 and the 2. I've got the 3 and the 4. The 3 is 6 meters. I had a 1 and a 2 both for 2 meters. And I seriously regret that, selling those. That was during a time when I was strapped for cash and I needed to get rid of a lot of things I had in here, and that was redundant equipment, so it had to go. And for the money that I got for them, it wasn't worth it. Not at all. I would have been better off just hanging on to them. But that's the way that goes. And I keep saying it, but one of these days, if I ever get my bench set up and working down here again, I've got to get my communicator 3 on the bench and do an alignment on the receiver. Get that thing back into operation again. It still works, but it doesn't hear very well anymore. And with that, we'll go to Dale. I should say 73 Scott. Thank you for being here, and we'll look forward to maybe having you here next month too. And with that, we'll go to Dale, AB9DW from KC9UDX. All right, thank you, Dale. And all I can say is your modulation is perfect, because your signal was even lower that time, and I can hear you just fine. And I can see your modulation on the meter, which is pretty strong, and it must be just set up just perfect. So very good on that. And I would too suspect that the snow is wreaking havoc with you. One thing else, though, that I would look out for, maybe you have a loose connection. It's hard for me to tell. Maybe there's something interfering between here and there, but your signal every once in a while just completely cuts out and comes right back again, which makes me wonder if something's not loose, or maybe you even have arcing with the snow. I don't know. But it's probably not bad. I guess you just have to check it out and see what's going on. And like I say, it's probably mostly the snow. So with that, we'll go to Joe. Joe, go ahead and take a turn. Oh, did we lose Joe?
No, I'm here. Sorry about that. I have my old microphone set up now. I know that the audio is probably fine, but I had it in my pocket, so I just thought might as well. But anyways, about CV, I must say, yeah, I have come across quite a few normal people and normal conversations out there. We drove down to Eau Claire, and the whole time I was getting at several stations in, so I know it receives pretty well. And there was some of the stations were like people saying a lot of religious stuff, which I'm fine with that. I don't really listen to that, but I'm fine with it. But yeah, I guess there is kind of a stereotype of it being all conspiracy theorists and all that kind of junk. But some of it is just truckers driving, I guess. And I have a vague memory of analog TV. I was pretty young when it shut down. I mean, I wasn't a toddler, but I was not of the age of getting into analog TV DXing and that kind of stuff when the switch happened. So yeah, I have a little memory of using it, but not much. Oh yeah, I was going to talk about how we're doing a lot of home improvement stuff, which has been kind of a process with all the contractors and appraisers and stuff like that, but I think in the end it'll be nice. We're kind of redoing the kitchen, possibly putting a door in, redoing the floors, cabinets, countertops, that kind of stuff, so that should be kind of fun, and that project will be going on in the spring, I believe. And we are using the kind of vinyl plank kind of floors, which are probably the easiest ones to use now aside from linoleum. But yeah, that should be kind of fun to do. And with that, I guess I'll turn the net back to you.
All right, thank you, Joe. And that microphone sure makes a difference. It's amazing how much of a difference that makes. I would say this one is much better, but the other one is not too bad either. Both work, but this one is definitely much louder. You may have seen me holding up that book. I have had this sitting here for maybe 6 months. I keep forgetting to bring it up. I don't know how we started talking about this. At some point we started talking about the books from Forrest M. Mims III, and I'm sure everybody else here on the net is familiar with that. This book is Getting Started in Electronics. I think I bought this at Radio Shack maybe 1983. I would just highly recommend, if you ever see these books for sale, anything written by Forrest M. Mims III is definitely worth looking into. And they're very, very common, so I suspect that the price is not very high. And of course, if you take a look on eBay, maybe you could find a couple of them for a couple bucks. I've been getting very lucky buying old records recently on eBay, getting some old jazz records, still new, never opened, 50 years old, 60 years old, in brand new condition, of course, for $1 or $2, because other people don't put any value in that stuff. And with that, we're at the bottom of the list, and I unfortunately can't afford to go over on time tonight. But I will make one final call, see if anybody else wants to join the net at the last minute here. Anybody wants to join the 2 a.m. net, come now, please. All right, hearing none, go back to the top of the list, K9FI. Jerry, it's your turn on the 7-3 round.
Okay, everybody. At this time, when Bill was talking, I could hear him better. And Dave just coming with a fine signal, and you guys are Dave is southeast of me, and I got a hill in between, and now we got snow, so it's making it worse. Probably, apparently, I'm still running my 25 watts, and I'm running my 2000. And you're talking about old radios. I got a couple of them. I got a 1936 helicopter Sky Challenger, and then I got a 1938 Sky Buddy, and then I got one I had for a while, a S-20R, drone helicopter. And someday, Pat, imagine if you've ever done any aligning. I'll have you give me some pointers that you have a signal generator someplace. But one of them I got from a friend of mine that passed away up in Rhinelander, and I had it on the other day. It worked very nice on the low band. But when I got up to the 40 and above, it didn't have much of a signal reception. So what I'm going to bring is my antenna analyzer down here and turn on the frequency and see if I can hear the tone. And then you were talking about books for kids for electronics. I collected a couple of them. It was Boyd's third book of radio electronics by Alfred Morgan. I had a lot of fun with that because I was making crystal radios for a while. Then I got electronics for young people, the fourth edition by who was that? Jenny Dick, the audio illustrations are. But anyhow, I find them interesting. I showed him my grandson. He just kind of looked at me and wasn't interested at all because they got really a lot of nice fun projects. The only problem is I don't think you can find the parts to make the project. In fact, I was looking for some germanium diodes that I think I'm going to have to order them off the internet. So anyhow, everybody have a good day. Stay safe and all this good stuff. And we'll get, next month or else on here. And on that back to that. Back to that. Thanks a lot for running the net. I'm back. See you later. Bye-bye.
All right, thank you, Jerry. And yeah, that's the problem with these old books is getting the parts. There's a lot of nice kits that are fun to build, but these days it's not so easy to get the components. And with that, I'll say 7-3 to you, Jerry. Thank you for being here, and we'll go to Dave, WB9BWP from KC9UDX on the 7-3 round.
Okay. Well, I'll start there, 73 to everybody that's near a radio or listening here. I don't know if Scott's still there or not. Or if Jerry can hear me. Again, I had to jump over to YouTube to hear him. A couple of things I didn't mention. I have a couple of the, what were they called? The Engineer's Mini Notebooks or something like that. The Forrest Mims book that Radio Shack had. I think I got them, I got a closeout somewhere for like $0.25 a piece or something like that. But yeah, there's a lot of older materials. You know, you can dig around on the internet, or even Half-Price Books sometimes has good deals on some of the older textbook type things, electronics books. They don't have too many of those. It's all a timing thing. You got to be there at just the right time for that. And yeah, the analog TV, I think that is coming up here somewhere in the next couple of months for any of the last holdout stations. And also for Joe up there, you mentioned the Barron County Radio Club there. I don't know if he's active in that or not. I think Barron County is where John Cook, who's the national sales manager for Yesu, lives up in that area. So you should try to check out Club if he's serious about getting a license at some point there. There's got to be somebody there that can help him out with that. And, they're probably having electronic meetings if they want to keep going as everybody else has. Anyway, 73 to everybody that's out there, and hopefully I'll make it back here next month. Oh, and between now and then also FM Simplex contest is coming up on the 20-something, the last Sunday of the month, 28th I think it is. 1 o'clock in the afternoon. Anyway, this is WB9BWB, 73 to all, and back to them.
All right, thank you, Dave. And those engineers mini notebooks, I think you're right, that's what they were called. I have a lot of them somewhere. I used to, every time they brought a new one in at Radio Shack, I would go buy it. Way back then. The FM Simplex contest. I really enjoy that contest when I can do it. And it's been a very long time since I could do it. I don't know if I'll be able to do it this year, but maybe at least I'll remember it. And I'll get on 6 meters if I can. I don't think I can, though. I can maybe at least get on 220, hand out some points, I guess. I'll say 7-3 to you, Dave. Thank you for being here. And next we'll go to Dale, AB9DW from KC9UDX on the 7-3 round. All right, thank you, Dale. Thank you for being here, especially because you are right on the fringe for me. But it works out well. It's very nice to be able to hear you and comprehend everything you're saying, even with the signal so weak. So again, thank you for being here, and I'll say 7-3 to you. And Joe, I guess you get to wrap up the net. I'll send it to you on the 7-3 round. Go ahead.
All right, thanks. So on the topic of those Radio Shack books, they reminded me of Snap Circuit, which is, I guess, kind of similar to a regular set, kind of. And I kind of grew up with those, and they kind of boosted my interest in electronics, and I still have my own set. And my brother, who's 10 years younger than me, we built a AM broadcaster, and he loved it. We broke out a AM radio and set it to around 1,000 kilocycles, which is what it calls for on the Snap circuit. And we could talk through a little microphone that comes with it, and it come off the radio. And he really likes that, so that's kind of cool. And then we could take it apart and build a AM radio. Basically kind of the opposite end of that, and then, well, listen to radio on that, which was kind of cool. So I guess I'll wrap it up by saying 7-3 to everyone, and thanks, Matt, for letting me join in on D2AM Net.
All right, thank you, Joe. And those Snap Circuits things, I'm a little familiar with them. I kind of remember them, but I've never had them, and I don't know too much about them, but I know that they are the successor to the things I had when I was a kid, the 101 and 150 and 1 kits from Radio Shack with the little springs that hold the wires. So that's very nice. I wonder what kind of kits are out there for the modern equivalent now. I'm sure that's all changed. But anyway, I'll say 7-3 to you, Joe, and I'll say that this concludes the 2 a.m. net. Feel free to chew on this frequency after my transmission. We will meet again on the 9th of March. Until then, this is KC9UDX 7-3, and good night.